Did you watch Dynamite last night? Are you watching Impact tonight? Pro wrestling fans have a busy weekend ahead with WWE and Impact both running shows. I'm Ryan Joy, and I run MinutesToBellTime.com, a pro wrestling website and database tracking pro wrestling from around the world. On today's show, I'm talking with John DeConnie. We call him the living legend. Yeah, like Larry Zbyszko. Except John's one of us, a pro wrestling fan. We'll be talking the latest news in pro wrestling and not just what you're seeing on television. This is the Daily Wrestling News Show for May 13th, 2021, where you can find all the latest pro wrestling news. And here we are. Welcome to the show, John DeConnie.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Very good, very good. We have a ton to talk about today. Dynamite was loaded last night. Just so much stuff happened. I want to start. I'm just going to kick right into this. Miro, Rusev, call him what you will. He's the new TNT champion.
Yeah, that was a heck of a match. It started with about a 5-minute beating around the ringside area before we even got to a bell, and then they went to 11 plus minutes afterwards, and a little bit of outside shenanigans, although not involving Miro or Darby per se. You had Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page hanging around. They jumped Sting a little bit, but a heck of a match. Some really rough spots. Darby takes a beating every time we see him, and he just keeps coming back for more. And he had we had the magical fist bump that led to him having a what seemed like the big comeback. And man, when he rolled Miro up and locked his crossed his legs, I said, do not do this. Not a roll up victory, not here. But it didn't happen, and eventually it was game over.
It was interesting. I was talking to my wife. We were watching it together, and I said, "Oh my God, I forgot Darby has the Last Supper pin. It's his signature move is a pin, so he can beat anybody with that at any night as long as he can fold their legs around." And I thought maybe that's how this is going to end. But it's interesting. Like, they told a really nice story in the sense that Miro destroyed him. Okay, that aside, Miro absolutely destroyed him, and then he come back around, and there's a point in the match where Darby almost acknowledges defeat, and that's when this fist bump you're talking about is. That's what I read from that fist bump is like Darby is laying down in the corner. He's clearly spent. He looks over at Sting. Sting looks back at him and in kind of the nod of like, I've lost titles too before, bud. This is not good. And they did that fist bump, and it's like Darby's last hurrah, and he played all the hits, and then Miro, game over with a referee stop. So
yeah,
it was a fun ride. It was a fun ride, and it was a really nice way for Darby to actually drop the title in this whole unbeatable person that can, he loves pain and everything like that. And referee had to call for the bell.
There's only so much you can do. The body can only take so much.
And here we go from Al Carl coming in, and he won it on Rusev Day. What are the odds of that? About 100%. About 100% are the odds, right?
Roughly. Yeah.
And of course, this is coming in on all the channels, so it's somebody backstage making that Miro spent his life on Raw, so he knows how to kick out of a roll-up. Of course,
it's a good point.
So multiple storylines, though, coming together for Double or Nothing coming up on May 30th. That's Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. Pac and Orange Cassidy is the other main story from the show last night. Now, this was supposed to be a match to determine who's going to face Kenny Omega. What one individual will get the AEW World Championship match at Double or Nothing later this month? Well, neither man answered Aubrey Edwards' 10 count. The main event at Double or Nothing is now going to be Pac versus Orange versus Kenny for the World Championship. Now, there's a lot going on in this match that we need to talk about, but first and foremost, John, what do you think of this as your Double or Nothing main event?
As we were talking about in pre-production, Al Carl brought up the point that this was the option we didn't see coming, and it turns out it was the right option. As we had Kenny versus Pac. We've already seen it. Certainly, we wouldn't mind seeing it again, but this is their biggest show of the year, et cetera, et cetera. So that was less than overwhelming.
Yeah.
Kenny versus Orange Cassidy. again, could be very entertaining, but is that your highlight? Is that your main event of the biggest show of the year? But boom, you throw all three of them together, and okay, now we've got some fun.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I think you're right. That's the right call to make. Tank Middleton coming in here, chiming in about Darby Allin. He says he wasn't a fan of Darby's pre-TNT reign, but he earned Tank's respect. I think he earned a lot of people's respect. The storytelling was great.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you like a guy who can take a beating and keep coming back, I mean, he's proven he's way up there at the top of that list. My
Right.
God, what that kid's willing to put his body through.
Now coming back to Pac and Orange Cassidy. Now everybody's reporting, PW Insider, Fightful, everybody's got the scoop on this. It was supposed to have been a time limit draw. This was the conclusion they were going for. This Pac versus Orange Cassidy versus Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing. This is what they were going for. But the match was supposed to have ended in a time limit draw. But Orange Cassidy took a power bomb to the head and apparently knocked himself silly for a few minutes. Or he didn't knock himself silly. Pac knocked him silly, I guess.
Yeah.
And so they had to call an audible. And this is where they kind of revised the ending on the fly and ended up with this interesting finish where Don Callis comes out, Kenny Omega comes out. They do some stuff behind Aubrey's back, and neither man answers the 10 count. So apparently Orange is okay. He was seen talking to people backstage and everything after the show, so I guess he's okay. But things were scary there. We had Humberto Carrillo on Raw, Orange Cassidy on Dynamite, so it's kind of a weird week.
Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting way that they decided to go with it. And, I guess if you don't nitpick it, it works.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, moving right along, there's so much on Dynamite. We've got the Young Bucks and the SCU. Before we get there, though, I've got a couple more people coming in. BJ chiming in. Darby Allin, he's speaking of again. He throws his body around. Fans are always going to appreciate that. It's true. I mean, it's kind of the whole Mick Foley syndrome, right? Like, we respect the people that give up their body for pro wrestling. So
100%. Yeah, very Mick Foley, ECW-esque.
Just take care of yourself because we want to see you wrestling in 10 years, not, you're a young guy. And then it's a nice rewrite. BJ chimes in again, especially on the fly. He moved up the story along, made it even better. Just hope Orange Cassidy is okay. So, yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about another controversial point on the show last night. We all knew the SCU run was coming to an end. We all knew it was probably coming into an end last night.
Yeah.
How do you feel it went in the fashion that it went, the match that they had? Was it a good ending for Christopher Daniels?
The match itself was pretty fantastic. I mean, was there any way that those four men could have a bad match? Maybe the presentation wasn't the greatest. Like, I didn't need to see Mox and Kingston tearing apart the locker room when I could have seen Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, give their final embrace and take a curtain call, bow to the crowd and whatnot. So in that way, it irked me a little bit, but the match itself, I mean, come on, what more do you want?
Yeah, I agree. And Christopher Daniels did go to Twitter afterwards and he said, this might be it. He didn't elaborate. He didn't say that it was it, but obviously this is the end of Kazarian and Daniels. And it happened on television, not on pay-per-view, which is okay. But like you said, the hope would have been for that moment to have been captured live and we could have, felt it with them. But it is what it is. I guess they were moving the storyline along. So there wasn't time for that. But maybe there'll be a whole documentary on it. So maybe we'll get everything back.
The AEW network, as soon as that comes
out. Before they sell it to Peacock. The other thing here is that now that this is done, this chapter is done. If Daniels isn't hanging it up, I think the best match to end his career is against Kazarian. I think that the two of them have you don't have to hate each other, but they just have a farewell match, and I want to do it with my best friend, blah blah blah, and throw that on a premium edition of Dynamite or something, and let that be the moment where we get the more sincere "I'm sorry, I love you" moment.
Yeah, that would absolutely work. Exactly like you said. They don't have to have a blood feud. This is just okay. I'm gonna tip my cap one last time, and who better to do it with than my partner for X however many years it's been now. So yeah, I would certainly take my money for that match.
Now, John Moxley in the opening contest, first and foremost, he's got new theme music. Wild thing, which made me smirk. I was like, oh, this is fun for like the intro to his music or something. Nope, that's what he's going with now. That's the whole thing. If he has a 12-minute entrance, they're just going to play it on repeat or whatever. Wild thing.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to get here and talk to you about that. I'm listening to it and I'm going like, is it because he's facing Nagata and it's the IWGP US title? Is this his Japanese theme music? Because like there was nothing wrong with his AEW theme music. But I guess he saw Orange Cassidy got a real song and he wanted TK to just pay for something. Go out there and get me something new.
Yeah, it definitely brings a different tone to a John Moxley match. And maybe that's what they're going for, because the Kingston and Moxley, while they're super, super serious, Moxley also has like this little comedic thing that he works into his promos. It's not like hard comedy or anything, but he says things that are a little funny. Like don't forget to call your grandmother and that kind of thing like that, So he works those things in. So maybe it's like a way to get you to smile. John Moxley's coming out. Plus Roman Reigns got new music this week. So,
True. Very true.
Just Seth Rollins left before we have a full rewrite of Shield music. John Moxley spoke to Sports Illustrated ahead of yesterday's match with Yuji Nagata. And he was talking about how he brought this to Tony Khan because Gato, the New Japan booker, wanted to do this match with bringing Nagata over to do this on Strong. He's explaining all this to Tony Khan, and Tony Khan says, why not do it on Dynamite? And Moxley says, if we can, then F yeah, that would be bigger, especially for a legend like Nagata. We both loved that it would be a chance for Nagata to be back on TNT. Before I knew it, Tony talked to New Japan, and now it's happening, and it's a chance to celebrate his career. And I think they did that. It was much of what we expected, forearms and kicks and clotheslines and things like that, and then ultimately a DDT for the win, and they bowed to each other after the match, kind of celebrating, what they had just done.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we actually get through now, considering the style that these two fight and what we saw in front of us? Did we actually get through that entire match without Jim Ross referring to it as a slobber knocker?
I don't remember hearing it.
Because if there was ever a spot for it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Jim Ross called a lot of New Japan matches, and I wonder how many times he invoked the slobber knocker term in New Japan, because that's typically what they are. I mean, they're forearms to the face. When are you going to legitimately drizzle out slobber then after getting punched in the face? So makes sense to me. The only other match on the card that we haven't talked about, Thunder Rosa got a win over Jasmine Allure. Very quick. But the story on that is that Serena Deeb's coming back next week.
Yes.
And Serena Deeb is the current NWA champion. And for some reason, they've decided that she's going to defend that belt against Red Velvet. Now, I don't know what Red Velvet has done recently to deserve a shot, but I guess Serena's going to defend the championship. So next week, we have Serena Deeb versus Red Velvet for the NWA championship. She's returning. I'm sure Thunder will be watching the match.
Welcome back, Serena.
Absolutely. The Young Bucks are also going to defend against the Varsity Blondes. Apparently, the Varsity Blondes are the number one contenders. They had earlier this week, Julia Hart was accompanying them to the ring on Dark Elevation this week. So, maybe we'll have 3 people out there for them.
That was a cute little thing that they did. I just saw a GIF of it, and I was like, "Who is that?" It was real small on my phone. Who is that? They're bringing like a cheerleader over the ropes, and they're in varsity jackets, and I'm like, all right, it's a new presentation. It's kind of cute, but who is that? It's Julia Hart.
All right. In action. That's right. Last week's in action. So we have the Young Bucks versus the Blondes next week. We got Deeb versus Red Velvet. We also have Anthony Ogogo versus Austin Gunn. Now, here's a little something that happened on Dynamite that we hadn't talked about yet. Cody Rhodes came out and delivered a great promo. Say what you want about Cody Rhodes, but he is a great promo, and he does evoke emotion. And he built this whole feud around a go-go draping that UK flag over him, the Union Jack.
Yep.
And he talks about being a patriot, and he says, a go-go, you didn't come here for the England dream. And he says there's only two people that can invoke this, so it won't be Anthony Ogogo versus the American Nightmare. No, it's going to be Anthony Ogogo versus the American Dream at Double or Nothing. So, man, if they didn't pan the crowd there, but if they did, I'm sure waterworks.
Yeah, leading up to this, it was like, oh, Cody's got an announcement. Yay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering just how self-indulgent he would get, because, if there's one thing that everyone likes to jump on him for, it's that he went away from the WWE, and I'm sure he felt like a lot of people felt that Triple H had turned that into his own playground for a little while. He's obviously calmed down, way from where he was. But for a little while there, a lot of people had a lot of heat for Triple H because he was, rewriting the record book, and all his buddies were getting spots and stuff. Cody, is the anti that. He was the throne breaker and this, that, and the other thing. And meanwhile, every time he passes wind, there's got to be a big announcement on his part. Yeah. So going into that promo, as soon as he made his entrance, I was like, oh, what? I was already rolling my eyes. But by the end of it, credit where credit is due. He came out, he did the whole, America's got flaws, but, kind of like, I can beat up my little brother, but you can't. Don't come over here from England and tell me all the things that are bad about America. I know what's bad about America, and I know what's good about America. I'm proud to be an American, and blah, blah, blah. And the force of the promo is in his blood. It was a heck of a promo, and even if I'm not necessarily overly excited for Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo, he put on a heck of a promo last night.
Now the question is, who's going to win? Ogogo has completed all of 3 wrestling moves in on television. He's always out there with the other guys, but it's a one move. He's a one move guy. He's got a punch to the gut. Cody's not going to do a 30-second match at Double or Nothing.
Wouldn't think so.
I would think that Cody's got to avoid that punch. Otherwise, because he can't, if he takes the punch, he's got to take the pin, right? Because you can't ruin the guy's whole gimmick. So he's got to avoid that, and as long as he can, and then maybe he takes an L here.
Yeah, well, maybe he rips off Bret Hart and comes out in a Dusty Rhodes T-shirt and wrestles in the T-shirt, and at some point Ogogo goes for the gut punch and breaks his hand because Cody's got a metal plate underneath the T-shirt.
Oh, there you go. Maybe so. We'll have to see how this plays out. It's at least got my interest. I've been saying the entire time, this feud is not about QT Marshall. This feud is not even about Cody Rhodes. This feud is about getting one or many of those other 6 talents on TV and in a key role and get them off to the races. And this, it sounds like they've tapped Anthony Ogogo to be a star. So let's see what he can do. Good luck.
See if he's got more than a right hook.
Right. Now, the other thing is they may be going for a little bit of tapping into trying to get the British market to buy this pay-per-view. Of course, Anthony Ogogo, he's an Olympic bronze medalist, so you can't discount the celebrity aspect of bringing him onto the roster and, featuring him. So, So absolutely. The other match for next week is Christian versus Matt Sydal. Both of these guys are going to be, as announced, in the Casino Battle Royal at Double or Nothing. Matt Sydal is hoping for a better showing. So last time he was in the Casino Battle Royal, he slipped on the top rope. In storyline, it's because Nakazawa oiled it up, but Nakazawa's not doing that gimmick anymore, so he's got no excuses this time. So as mentioned, we've got Cody versus Ogogo. That's been announced. Previously announced, we've got Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida. Those are both for Double or Nothing. We also have the Casino Battle Royal now. The Pinnacle challenged the Inner Circle to a Stadium Stampede match. But if the Inner Circle does not win, they have to break up forever. Yeah. So that match not announced, although they're not going to tease it and then not give it to us. So we're
Certainly not.
definitely going to get that match
Yeah.
at Double or Nothing. So it'll be the second year in a row that they have a Stadium Stampede match in Jacksonville.
That
So
match was a lot of fun. You know, it was a little wacky. It was a little all over the place, but it was a lot of fun last year. So it'll be interesting to see because last year it had the Bucks in it. You know, last year it had Kenny Omega in it. Be interesting to see how they pull it off this year. But I have no doubt that they will entertain us for a good, probably 20 minutes.
well, it's interesting too because that match last year had a serious comedy vibe, right? They came out wearing shoulder pads and they had the eye makeup underneath and they had a fight in the bar and Matt Hardy changed characters 12 times. So are they going to go with the same idea where they do a lot of comedy spots? MJF is more than capable. Chris Jericho is more than capable. You can even see comedic moments between Wardlow and Hager. Or this is a blood feud. Do they go more serious and do different things? So it's interesting to see if they have a completely different tone to the match.
Yeah, I think it's more likely we see the Inner Circle come out in leather vest like a motorcycle gang and just swinging weapons and whatnot.
Right. And BJ chiming in to say, hey, it's a great gimmick match. AEW's got to own it.
Yeah.
So absolutely. It was a fun time. And, if they can, as long as they're in Jacksonville and that's stadium is right there, why not keep doing it? So, so we got that. And then also the match that we all got wrong on Dynamite a few weeks ago. We all said Hangman Page is never going to lose a match on his way to facing Kenny Omega. He lost to Brian Cage. Now, rightfully so, Brian Cage attacked him before the match, powerbombed him on the stage and everything. So Hangman Page has a little something to hang his cowboy hat on. And he says, you beat me, but it took some work. So how about you leave Team Taz? I'll leave the Dark Order. We have a one-on-one match at Double or Nothing. And so that match was announced later in the night. So appropriately so, they planted a seed to make this match, and good on them.
Yeah, and this is look at how this card is filled out already. I mean, this is this isn't for a belt. This isn't a gimmick, but this is one of the matches that might be most anticipated on the night. I definitely want to see it again, and without the outside garbage from Team Taz. So
every AEW pay-per-view so far has done better than the last in terms of pay-per-view buys. And this card is shaping up to a point where I think it's going to do better than the last one as well. It's not that every pay-per-view has been better than the last. That's definitely not the case. There was I think All Out last year was kind of a letdown a little bit, but every pay-per-view has done better financially for AEW. And I when I look at this card and I'm knowing we still have a Miro match, probably. We still have a Sting match, probably. Yeah. I would imagine we're going to see Darby and Sting versus Page and Scorpio Sky. That's what we've been building to.
Certainly seems that way, yeah.
And by God, if we're not, are we going to have Miro versus Lance Archer? Is that what we're building to?
Are they going to get to that one already? Because that's a heck of a match. That I think I'd like to see Archer chase Miro around a little bit before that. But hey, if that winds up on this card too, then wow, what a stacked card.
Yes. I don't think you'd have to chase him for long. Archer's got longer legs and stuff like that, but Miro might have better wind. But as long as Jake's there to hold Archer back, maybe it will take a while. But
there you go.
BJ asking if we think this is the start of Hangman's big push. I think Hangman's always been pushed big. It's just a question of if this is the push that's going to send him to facing Kenny Omega. I think this is a big win on the way. I don't think they're going to – I think that the Kenny Omega title reign is going to be a lot longer, and I think Hangman Page is the one who's going to take it. So I think that this is going to be just a stop.
Yeah. I think the loss to Cage was just a pause on the push that was quietly and slowly rolling this whole time. So
absolutely.
Yeah, this is kind of the restart, I guess.
Well, and the loss actually makes the win much bigger. Right. Like it makes the match, if he just rolled in there, beat Cage at Double or Nothing, big deal. But he's got this loss to avenge, so it makes it a bigger match.
Absolutely.
So on the subject of Dynamite and Double or Nothing, this week's Dynamite coming up, same time, same channel. The following week, it's a Friday show, 5/28. And the tickets for the 528 and 530 Double or Nothing, they go on sale individually on Monday. But you can get combo tickets this Thursday and Friday at the Jacksonville Jaguars / Daily Places ticket office. So mark your calendars that the go home show for Double or Nothing is actually going to be on Friday. I'm sure it'll be head to head with SmackDown.
Very interesting. I did not realize that at all.
Yeah. Yes, they made that announcement. I could have read that wrong. It's possible that they're having 2 Dynamites that week, but definitely Dynamite Friday beforehand, and I don't think they're doing 2. So
yeah.
Okay, so we talked about Jake Roberts a few seconds ago, and he's appropriate to today's history lesson. Mr. Jake Roberts made his pro wrestling debut this day, May 13th, in 1975.
Nice.
So, to still be active, not an active wrestler, but part of an active show, 46 years later. What a great career. He had a long pause, long pause,
sure.
And he had some bad years.
Yeah,
but
all self-imposed, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what a great, the years that were good were very good.
Yeah.
The years that were bad were very bad.
So. And I just heard Jericho's podcast where he had on the 2 guys from Dark Side of the Ring, the 2 creators behind it. And they said that they just absolutely love every time they sat down with Jake. So I guess he's used quite a bit this season. We've already seen him in the Pillman one. We've seen him in the Randy one. So the fact that just put a camera on this man. This is what was missing. It's not the only thing, obviously, but what was missing from the wrestling business for so long when he was going through all his turmoil was this guy. He can tell a great story. And he can, help me. He can cut a great promo. Just put a camera on this man and let him go, and you're going to get some gold more often than not.
Yeah, there's an upcoming episode where I assume he'll be featured a ton because they're doing an episode on Grizzly Smith, his father, and that. So, Jake comes from a wrestling family. I think his brother and his sister both wrestled too. Yeah, So I think that, we'll probably see a lot more of Jake on Dark Side of the Ring this season, but what a talker. What a talker. Tonight's episode is on Nick Gage. Tonight's episode of Dark Side of the Ring. He is the current GCW champion. It'll be really interesting to see what they cover. They haven't covered somebody so independent.
Outside the mainstream, yeah.
Right. So this will be an interesting episode. I wonder how they'll do. But
this is the one that features a lot of mocks, right? Because those 2 have had some bloody wars. Yeah,
I would imagine so. Yeah. On Ring of Honor last night, they had their Women's Wednesday show, and Miranda Alize defeated Trish Adora, and both were then invited to compete in the Ring of Honor Quest for Gold. So that the women's tournament later this year, they'll both be in it. So
very nice.
And here's something that's got me irritated, John. NXT's lowest rating since they moved to Tuesday, 697,000. And I'm hitting my head because I think this is the best WWE show that's out right now. And I think that specifically the last couple of weeks have been great, and they're building to more great weeks. I love the fact that they're projecting 2 weeks out or, a week out. We're getting the matches advertised ahead. I like everything about the show, and it's flopping in the ratings. So people go watch NXT.
Yeah, what do you do if you're not watching that show? It's when it was just on the network. I have to admit, and shame on me, I wasn't. I would catch every couple of weeks. I would remember to put on the network because otherwise I was sitting at my computer with TV on, just as white noise in the background, and I wasn't necessarily thinking about that. Now that it's on the USA Network, it is as easy to consume as possible. How are you not watching this show if you're a real wrestling fan? I mean, what they've been giving you the last couple of weeks, come on.
Skip Raw. Watch NXT.
Exactly. You told me I only had 2 hours of WWE programming a week that I was allowed to watch. I'm skipping Raw and SmackDown probably and watching NXT.
Yeah. NXT is a great show. So I hope that they find a way to increase that rating without destroying the product.
Yeah.
News out of the NWA from Tuesday night, their power show. Thunder Rosa is facing Camille. No match date so far. But if Thunder Rosa loses, the stipulation is that she can't work anywhere else. And she's critical to the AEW roster, I think, right now.
Yeah,
So
she better
I
win
hope-
that match.
yeah. And in fact, I mean, she has to win, right? Because if Britt Baker wins the championship, we need Britt versus Thunder.
Yeah,
now, of
we
course,
need
that
that
could
for
happen.
title.
That could happen on NWA television, right? You know, Billy Corgan could come back. So, okay, you've had Thunder for all this time. You've had the NWA title for all this time. Give us a star for our pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the case. So now Fightful has reported that Sean Dean, the captain, recently got his Sean Dean is All Elite. He also has a backstage role as extras coordinator, and I do hope that means that he's taking care of the cheerleaders and the women that walked out with MJF and the Pinnacle and everything like that. Because if his job is taking care of all of the talent that's on Dark and Elevation, if that's what they meant by extras, I hope there's more than just him.
Yeah, that is a job for more than one person for sure.
100%. BJ says that Britt will spend 6 months running from Thunder Rosa.
I hope it's not that long, but she certainly will avoid her, I believe.
100%. And then finally, the GCW champion. I already mentioned this. GCW champion Nick Gage is the Dark Side of the Ring episode tonight. But there's still no news out of Japan on what's going on with New Japan, what they're going to do going forward, or any of the shows that they had coming up. No news yet. So stay tuned. We'll let you know when we hear something, but nothing yet. All right. That aside, a couple of more segments to get through here, but we've got Money in the Bank. 2020. That's going to be your trivia, your gauntlet for the day. Okay. So let me play the bumper. Okay. So John and I are going to do the gauntlet here. Then I've got to tell you about some things that are going on around the network that you can check out. And then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about Impact tonight. And we're going to get a little bit into Backlash this weekend. So stick with us while we do the trivia here, and then we get into the stuff you can check out. So, John, Money in the Bank 2020. Al Caro set the pace on Monday. He named 20 wrestlers that were on Worldwide card. You have to name several that were on this card. Good luck.
Okay. All right. So we had Otis.
Yep.
AJ.
Yep.
Daniel Bryan. Ray. There were 6 men, right? When there's King Corbin.
Yep.
Who was the 6th guy? All right, let me not get hung up there. All right, let me go to the women. Asuka.
Yep.
Nia and Shayna both, right?
Yep. You're up to 8.
Okay. Lacey.
Yep. 9.
Blah, 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 blah. I don't remember who else was in that one. All right, what else was on that card? That was the split one, right? Because half of it was at the WWE building and half of it was down in Florida. Well, Drew was the champion, right? Drew was the champion, so he would have been on the card.
10. Yep, you're up to 10.
Wow, was this when he was going back with Randy? Was this during his back and forth with Randy?
No Randy on the card.
Okay.
No Randy on the card. So Randy is what killed you and Travis this week.
Yeah, that's fun.
So Otis, AJ Styles, Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan, King Corbin, and Rey Mysterio. That was the men's. Asuka, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Drew McIntyre defeated Seth Rollins. Braun Strowman defeated Bray Wyatt. Bayley defeated Tamina. Bobby Lashley defeated R-Truth. And the New Day, Big E and Kofi Kingston defeated Steve Cutler, Wesley Blake, John Morrison, The Miz, and the Lucha House Party. Al gets a point this week.
Good job, Al. There was no shot.
All right, we're going to talk about Impact. We're going to talk about Backlash. Stick with us for a second. First, let me tell you about how you can support the show, the Daily Wrestling News Show. If you do, I'd like to tell you how you can support us. Check out the new Crucifix t-shirt from bodyslamclothes.com. The shirt comes for $20. That includes your shipping. That includes XXL, XXL, and the super soft style. So there's no upcharge for any of that stuff. And if you like that shirt, there's a whole bunch of others. And if you buy two, use the promo code SHIRTS10 at checkout for 10% off your order. That's bodyslamclothes.com. And join Joey Jarzanka, Ian Schreier, and Rob DeLuca on Friday nights for the Primetime Rundown. They take you through the world of sports. The show kicks off at 6 p.m. on the Eastern Observer. And each Tuesday, check out the Essential Wrestling Podcast hosted by Al Carl. He brings along myself and John Smith and John DeConi. We get together for another week of updates and highlights in the world of pro wrestling. You can hear us make our analysis as we pick the week's matches and tell you who we think's going to win. The show begins at 6 p.m. each and every Tuesday on the Eastern Observer. And Pro Wrestling Pick'em. This is a fantasy sports website dedicated to pro wrestling. It's where you can test your predictive skills in the world of pro wrestling against your friends, against the universe, whatever the case may be. You can create an account, join a league, or create a league. Just compete against your friends, have a good time with it. No gambling here. It's just good fun at ProWrestlingPick'em.com. And the Body Slam Brigade newsletter. This newsletter is going out to over 4,200 people each and every week on Fridays. And you get all the top stories consolidated into one place. It's quick to read. It's broken up by company. And it's free. Written by me for you for free. Join the list at bodyslambrigade.com. And then this show, of course, the Daily Wrestling News Show. It's here every day, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Occasionally we drop in on Fridays. You can listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can watch us live on YouTube and Facebook. You can also get it there on demand as well. So do check out the Daily Wrestling News Show each and every day. Thank you for your support. And we're back. Thanks, everybody. All right, John, Impact for tonight. We have 4 matches announced. There's actually more, but we have the X Division Scramble, Pete Williams, Ace Austin, ELP, Rohit, TJP, and AC Romero. Carl Anderson versus David Finlay. Havoc versus Rosemary with the winner facing Deanna at Under Siege. And then we have Sami Callihan, Chris Bay, and Moose facing Cardona, Trey, and Sabin. Not announced, but assumed. Jordan Grace versus Tasha Steelz. And that may have been announced later on.
That's on BTI.
Oh, it's on BTI. There you go. Okay. So, John, with that listing, we're heading into Under Siege this weekend. So 2 of those matches have implications, right? Havoc and Rosemary. One of the winner gets Deanna at Under Siege. I assume it's at Under Siege. I think that's what Scotty was going off about. You got a favorite?
Yeah, I think it's Havoc, not just because I like her and I want her to win, but because I think, we've already seen Deanna and Rosemary, so it just makes sense as Deanna finishes cleaning out the entire women's division before they bring in someone from the outside, I guess, to take away another Impact belt. Let her have her dance with Havoc.
Yeah. And they already have Black Taurus on the Under Siege card, so we get to hear and see and witness Decay's entrance no matter what. Nice. So I think we're going to get, probably you're right, Havoc getting through on this one. The other one is the X Division Scramble. So you got on the Saturday we have a 6-way number 1 contender match: Sabin, Chris Bay, Sami Callihan, Matt Cardona, Trey Miguel, and Moose. On tonight's show, we have an X Division Scramble with Pete Williams, Ace Austin, ELP, Rohit, TJP, and Ace Romero. Kind of the same thing, but we're trying to determine who's going to face Josh Alexander on Saturday. So Who do you got in this one, and what are you thinking for Josh? This is going to be his first title defense, right? And he's going to win.
Yeah, well, he defended against Ace, but this will be, that was the
his first pay-per-view title.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I almost, you look at it real quick and you go like, okay, ELP's the new guy there. They probably want to give him some play, but I almost think that if ELP wins, you'd be then worried that Josh was going to lose. And I mean, he just got this belt. So I think they'll do something wacky, like let Rohit somehow, sneak out of this one with a roll-up win or feet on the ropes, or, some kind of heel tactic. And then he can go and properly lose to Josh at Under Siege.
Well, you know me, I said, this is the X division. We got no limits. So I picked AC Romero. So that's
I would be all too happy if you were correct.
If ELP wins tonight, I'm changing my pick on Saturday to ELP, because this is more to my theory of Impact losing all their belts.
Yep.
So there we go on that. And then as mentioned, Under Siege, we have the number one contenders match. We have Sabin and Bay and Callahan, Cardona, Miguel, and Moose. They're all getting together to see who's going to face Omega at some point in the future. Omega's busy on the card too. He's teaming with the Good Brothers to face Eddie Edwards and Finjuice. Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering versus Fire and Flava for the Knockouts tag titles. W. Morrissey, that's Big Cass, versus Willie Mack. Brian Myers versus Black Taurus. Deanna and Josh against the winners of their matches on tonight. So the fun one here is the 6-way number one contenders match. The rest almost, some title matches there, so they matter, but it doesn't matter so much if Morrissey or Willie Mack wins their match, whatever. Sure. But this number one contenders match means we're going to see one of these guys face Kenny Omega and attempt to take the Impact title back. I said Callahan. What do you say?
I'm right there with you. I think Sammy's been, he was in Don Callis's ear before Kenny even won, saying, he keeps referring to it as, I'm going to take back what's mine. Which he hasn't had it since January of 2020. But I think it's too early for Kenny versus Moose. So Sammy Callahan is a nice stop along that road.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's a gimmick match in Impact that they're holding on to or something, then they're probably going to dust it off for Kenny versus Sammy, so they can have an exploding cage match of hell, whatever.
Got to find another reason to bust out the barbed wire wrapped N64 controller. And I mean, come on, Kenny's a gamer too. So come on, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Very true. So we will see. I'm saving my Moose prediction for down the road. I think that's going to happen. That might even be where the change happens, but not right now. Okay, and then finally, I guess the last question I want to ask you, we got a Backlash this weekend. Of course, everybody knows, there's a big 6-match card there, a bunch of titles on the line. Who is going to be a new champion on Sunday, John? Who do you got for new champions?
Well, I think the one I'm probably the most confident about, I think there could be multiple title changes, but I think the easiest one to call here is just that feel-good moment of the father-son tag team champions. The Mysterios beating the Dirty Dogs.
Yeah, and let me expand upon that. I agree. And I think the reason we need to do this now, we need to get them tag titles on them so they can have a short run, month. They can lose those belts and start our build for Ray versus Dominic at SummerSlam. That's where we're going. These guys didn't make the Mania card. They're going to be on the Summer card, and they're going to be looking across the ring at each other, I think. So with Aaliyah in one corner and Mrs. Mysterio in the other. It'll be a whole family affair. Special guest referee, Murphy, and, get this whole thing rolling again.
Okay. You heard it here.
So I agree. Yeah, there you go. Mysterio's are going to get their titles. And then the other one, I'm really high on Charlotte winning. I think that's definitely going to happen myself. I can think of other scenarios where Rhea retains and stuff, but I think Charlotte's going to be the bane of Rhea's existence for a long time, like she is everybody's.
Yeah, that I had that one picked as well. I'm not completely sold on that one, but it certainly makes a lot of sense. That's a pick I'm making in the PWP pool.
Absolutely. All right, John, anything we didn't cover in the world of wrestling today?
I can't imagine. I mean, we are thorough.
Yeah, we get it all. We dig deep on this show.
I mean, who else is reporting today was the anniversary of the first Jake the Snake Roberts match in 1975. I mean, we have gone soup to nuts.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There you go. All right, well, folks, that's our show for John. I'm Ryan calling in from Minutes to Bell Time Studio B on the beautiful shores of the Great Saugatuck Lake within the Empire State's Adirondack Park. Wanted to squeeze that in because I missed saying it since I redid the intro. But for John, I'm Ryan. We will see you next time.